When I was in my early 40s, I had been a drunk for about 20 years, and I stopped drinking, and I got very angry about politics, about society, and mostly I was angry about literature because I thought what I was reading, what popular fiction at the time was just mainly bullshit. And I wanted to write something different. It was almost a protest against contemporary literature. Was the reason I started to write. And I was attracted to people who were very unconventional, almost counterculture kinds of writers. And that's what impressed me. Also, I wanted to read people who were telling the truth in their own experience. I wanted to read writers who spoke from their heart and not as some kind of transparent pose. So that's the reason I began to write. The reason I'm a French writer first is because my first book was a book called Chump Change, and I sent it out to 40 publishers in America, and no one would accept it. And it was, at the time, I was beginning to think it was pornography, or editors would read it and they would, they'd send me immediate denials of the manuscript. And then a friend of mine, a French singer named April March, read the manuscript, and she knew somebody at Robert Laffont, and they accepted it immediately, and I became a French writer. My loyalty, because I began in France, is very strong to French literature, and I feel a kinship with the French, and I do, as I do with Americans, but my first novel was published in France, so I'm very loyal to that audience. I believe that I'm at the end of Bruno Dante because the cycle of Bruno Dante began with Les Anges, and it is completed with this last book, that I took him from the place, I took the character from where I wanted it to begin, and there was a natural evolution, and I believe I'm done with that character. There's a scene in my novel 86th where the character Portia gets angry at Bruno, and using super glue, she glues his penis and his balls to his leg. What she does really is just pour super glue on his genitals, and then he goes to sleep. The reason I used that scene was because it actually happened with a friend of mine. She had married the same guy twice, and the first time he was unfaithful to her, and the second time he was unfaithful to her. The second time he came home drunk, smelling of sex, and she was drunk too, and she took a whole tube of super glue, and she glued his genitals to his leg, and he had to have surgery for 4 hours, and he was never the same again. I've been lucky. The last time I tried to kill myself was about 3 years after I stopped drinking. And most people don't get to meet God until they get to the other side. I got to meet God before I got to the other side. And the way I got to meet him was to be in enough pain, emotional pain, without alcohol, to want to die And then God said, "Hi, Dan. Welcome home." The most honest emotion is intolerance. And I think when I see and when I feel intolerance, I know somebody is being completely truthful. It's interesting that you don't get the most honesty out of a person until you piss them off.